Hi everyone, my name is Jade Calver. I own and operate Calver & Associates Canadian Immigration Services. We're a full-service immigration firm. We offer advice on all immigration matters. Today we're doing a question and answer session with Kelly Makhoul. She is an Australian, soon to be Canadian, who has gone through the immigration process. So we're going to go through some questions with Kelly and just discuss her application process to Canada and kind of what that looked like from the applicant side, because it's always me talking. So we'll talk to an applicant and hear from them and what that process is like. So Kelly, thank you so much for coming on today and talking to us about your experience. And we'll start right into our questions.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk about my experiences on the various visas that I've been on while living in Canada as an Australian.
So my first question, Kelly, is how did you decide to apply for the IEC, so the International Experience Class program? What were the deciding factors that really pushed you to apply for the visa, so this working holiday visa, to come to Canada to work and travel?
Well, for a while I'd been toying with the idea of living in the United States. So I looked into doing one of the summer camps or going and working in the ski resorts such as Colorado. And I looked into some in Canada as well, like Whistler, Banff, but I kind of didn't really follow through with that. And then a few years later I went on a trip to Europe and I met some Canadians on the trip that I was on and we got along really well, and I became friends with them and I visited them a couple of times, and then I came across the International Experience Canada visa. So that's when I decided to apply, which was in 2011.
Great, thanks so much, Kelly. Another question I had was, what was the application process like in terms of forms, documentation, length of time? How long did it take you from when you first decided to apply to the end? What was the cost? Lots of people ask us about cost. And finally, the processing time for the visa after you had applied.
So I know the application process has changed, but at the time it was actually on paper, not online like it is now. So I had to download some forms from their website and then fill them out and send them in via mail and wait for a response. I eventually received a letter saying that I had been accepted. The application process was fairly straightforward. It was basically filling out that form, providing a lot of information for them to do like a background check. So where I've lived the last 5 to 10 years, where I traveled. I had to do a police check. I think I had to provide a driver's check, like a check of all if you've had any driving fines or anything like that. And I believe that was all. And then it cost $250 at the time. And I submitted all that in November of 2011 and I was approved by January of 2012. So I left Australia in March and I came to Canada and I started my IEC visa on March 22nd, 2012.
Great. A lot of people ask us, what should I do when I first land in Canada? So do you want to talk to us a little bit about what that looked like? Where did you first work? How did you get a driver's license? How did you decide where to live? And everything about first settling in Canada when you arrived.
When I first came to Canada, luckily I was able to live with one of the friends I'd made, which was in Scarborough. And then I looked for a job while I was living there. So I didn't have to worry about finding accommodation right away. I had planned to. I told them I was going to be there for about a week while I adjusted to the new time zone and then I'd be off in a hostel, but they refused to let me. So I focused on looking for a job. I firstly went to Service Canada and got a SIN, which is a social insurance number, so that I could apply for a bank account. And then I did that next. So I went and applied with TD Bank because that's what my friends recommended. It was pretty easy. Once I had a SIN and was able to show some identification, like my Australian driver's license, my Australian passport was accepted. They let me open a bank account, just a savings account. I wasn't able to get a credit card because I didn't have any credit history in Canada. I think now they have newcomers credit cards in certain banks, so you can go and get like a special package for newcomers with a credit card and a savings account checking account. We call them savings in Australia.
Thanks, Kelly. And my last question, which lots of my clients ask, is Where did you first find work, and what type of work did you perform? So did she work in hospitality, education, healthcare, and how did you find that process?
Since I had the accommodation all taken care of, I started looking for jobs right away pretty much. I sent out a bunch of applications. I went on monster.ca, I went on indeed.ca, I went on all the online websites. I didn't do any networking or job fairs or anything like that. Actually no, I went to a job fair. I remember I went to a job fair, but I don't think I applied for anything. So I sent out a bunch of applications, probably like 50 or so. I didn't hear from anyone except for Porter Airlines, which is where I ended up getting a job. But that's how I found a job.
Thank you for watching. If you're interested in coming to Canada through the IEC program like Kelly, you can visit our website at calvareimmigrationservices.com. Here you will find helpful information about the IEC program, along with various other Canadian immigration programs, such as study permits, express entry, and family class sponsorship. If you have questions about your case, do not hesitate to contact us. You can reach us on our social media platforms, linked below, or by email at jade@calvareandassociates.com.